Hello, my name's John. Here's more books for playing Necromunda, and you're watching War Games, Models and Other Hobbies. Hello and welcome to the fourth video in this series. Today we're going to be taking a look at the books to play Necromunda the Ash Wastes. So we're leaving the Underhive and we're going into the toxic wastes outside. Firstly, before we have a look at these books, just going to have a look at the rule books that you will use for Ash Wastes. You've either got the Ash Waste rulebook that comes with the Ash Wastes box set. This has all of the rules for playing Ash Wastes. What it doesn't have are any stats for any of the gangs or characters or anything like that. Like I said in a previous video, you need to have your construction guide and introductory gang list to have the rules for the models that come with this box set. Your other option is the core rulebook that has rules for both in fighting in the Hive as well as fighting in the Ash Wastes. So those are your two choices for rulebooks to play in the Ash Wastes. When it comes to the Ash Wastes, currently there are 4 books. There is a 5th one about to be released at time of recording, which is the Necromunda Apocrypha book. Hopefully, if I get that before this video is released, I'll tag it onto the end so we can run through what's in that as well. But to start with, let's have a look at these books. So here we have the Book of the Outlands. So this is the first book that has rules for models and gangs and characters to play in the Ash Wastes. So in here we have rules for the Ash Waste Nomads, we have the Squat Prospectors, then we have Wasteland Gangs and how you create them, and vehicles and that kind of thing. So if we have a little flick through, it starts off with the Ash Waste Nomads and talks about a little bit of their history and then how you create a gang with them, and it goes through all of the different rules for creating the gangs. One thing to note, Ash Waste Nomads, they have animals that they ride. They don't have any vehicles like the other gangs. So if you're looking to have a vehicle Mad Max based kind of gang, Ash Waste Nomads aren't necessarily the thing for you. But if you like big bugs and you want to see people riding around on big bugs and attacking people, Ash Waste Nomads, perfect. So we then have Squat Prospectors. So it goes about the history of the Squat Prospectors, where they came from and so on, and why they're on Necromunda. We then have rules for the gangs. Really interesting type of gang, this one, very different to the other gangs. And then it goes and talks about different wasteland gangs and how you have vehicles, how you pay for vehicles, vehicle crews and that kind of thing. Like with the other books, we have things talking about hangers-on and brutes, so we have a few other hangers-on and brutes for the squats and the nomads. And then as it goes through, we've got exotic beasts, and then it goes on to designing your own vehicles, so you don't have to stick with the ones that are in the book, you can make up your own. And then as we carry on through all of the vehicles, a few nice pictures of vehicles. It then goes on to talking about the actual battlefield zones, then gang tactics, additional rules, and that kind of thing. So if you're wanting to play in the Ash Wastes, really this book is a must because it gives you the rules for the vehicles and how to make them, as well as 2 of the factions within there. So we'll now start having a look at the other books to see what's in those. So currently the other books are actually a series. They're the Aranthian Succession. There's 3 books in this series, and this adds rules for each of the gangs for playing in the Ash Wastes and has a full narrative campaign that goes through all of the books. So starting with the first one, which is Cinderak Burning, this contains rules for Goliath and Escher Ash Waste gangs, so specific vehicles and things like that. It also has narrative scenarios and a storyline which leads you through the campaign itself. Really interesting campaign, and there's a lot of information in here to be able to kind of advance your Ash Waste games and so on. The most important bit though in this book is definitely the rules for Escher and Goliath vehicles, as it makes them a bit more unique compared to the other gangs. There's also some really interesting pictures at the back of different terrain and things like that. The second book is The Vaults of Temenos. So going through the book, we have the narrative bit at the beginning with the stories of the campaign. Goes on to some additional rules for crusading gangs. We then have the actual campaign section, so talks about the different rules for the campaign and the scenarios, and then it goes on to specific house rules for certain gangs and so on. In the same way as the first one, we then get some pictures of some of the new vehicles and new models, and then rules at the back and so on. We then get the final book, The Ruins of Jardalan. This includes a few different things as well for different gangs. So we have in here rules for Vansars, Enforcers, we then have some squats, quite a few different things in this one. So as we go through, same as the other books, we have the narrative at the beginning. It then goes on to the narrative campaign with rules for the scenarios within the campaign. And then it goes on to specific house rules for certain gangs. Same as the other ones. Again, a really interesting book. Now, the key thing that you'll notice with all of these books, it covers all of the gang houses except Delac. That comes out in the next book, which hopefully I'll have so I can tag on to the end of this video and we'll have a look at it. To play any of the Ash Waste gangs, you do need to have a lot of the other books. So Ash Waste is one of those parts of the game where it is a heavy investment. You need to have a lot of the other books to be able to play and so on. But it is still a great concept, playing in the wastes, Mad Max style, that kind of thing. So my copy of Apocrypha Necromunda has arrived. I haven't had a full look through it yet, but I'm going to have a quick look with you now so we can tack it into this video. So to start with, this is the culmination of a few different articles and rules and things that appear on the Warhammer community site under Necromunda Apocrypha as their title. There's a few other things in here as well, as I think, but we'll start having a look and see what's in here. So opening it up, some artwork. So this is after the campaign books were released. This kind of ties up any loose ends for rules for certain gangs and things like that. So having a look at the contents. So we've got rules for creating nemesises. Then there is living settings, resurrection packages, arbitrator scenarios, gang scenarios, the uprising campaign, campaign scenarios, outlaw brutes, and additional clan house vehicle rules. So let's just have a quick look at the designer's notes for using this book. Necromunda. Apocrypha Necromunda is a toolbox for both players and arbitrators, providing them with the resource of previously out-of-print rules, updated rules, or rules that don't have a logical place to live in other rulebooks. Some of these, such as Outlaw Brutes or the Gang Raids, can be placed in any campaign, while others, like the Underhive Nemesis or Living Settings rules, are more ambitious and can form a foundation of an entire campaign. All the rules, scenarios, and fighters presented here are optional additions to the Necromunda game for players to pick and choose as they see fit when creating their ideal campaign. So this is a toolbox. This one gives you, as it said, extra rules here and there. So we've got a little bit of artwork as we go through. The Underhive Nemesis for Necromunda. So I think this is for creating characters within a campaign. So we've got rules on that. We then have the living setting. So this is creating an actual living setting within the Underhive. So a settlement that... let's have a quick look at this and see. Yeah, so this is a setting that allows you to have certain hired guns there, trade posts, things like that. So there's a variety of different things in here. So we then have, yep, some example settings. And resurrection packages for, if someone dies, how you can resurrect them. So there's a whole selection of different things that you can do. Then we've got some scenarios, campaign rules, some more scenarios, and then we've got a few outlaw brutes. So let's have a look at what we've got here. So we've got a scrap code corrupted ambot, then got a mutated ogrin, a sump beast, nice conversion that one, a warp horror, and then additional clan rules for vehicles. So this is for the Ash Wastes. So this should have, okay, so this has got equipment lists for each of the gangs to change the equipment available for vehicles. And then we have the only place where it appears is Delac rules. So they have a Delac Wraith is a crew member for Delac gangs with their weaponry and things. And then vehicle gang tactics. Hopefully, like with all of the other gangs, they will release the cards and dice for Delac, but we shall see. They often get kind of left behind when these rules happen. And that's the bit, although that's a nice, let's just get that in shot. That's a nice rogue dock for Delac. Wonder if that's going to be a released model. Well, we'll see, because it's the last time Delac models, Delac rules were put into the end of something was when we had Gang War, before there was an update to Necromunda. With Warhammer Old World just being released and the new Kill Team season being on, I think it's going to be a while till any new Necromunda things come out. But we shall see. But anyway, that's Apocrypha Necromunda, and back to the video. So, I hope you found this video interesting, looking at these books. In the next video, I'm going to take a look at what books you need to play specific things. So, rather than just looking through them, we'll talk about if you want to play a certain gang, which books you need to own or have access to, that kind of thing. But for now, thanks for tuning in. My name's John, and you've been watching War Games, Models, and Other Hobbies.